Story 1. College textbooks. $300 for a book you will use for a few months, and there is a new edition every year because they moved a comma. Story 2. Printers and printer cartridges. Some even require a subscription just to work. Imagine buying a toaster that charges you monthly just to make toast. Story 3. Gotcha is a system where you pay a certain amount hoping to get something good out of many worthless items. It is like a lottery, but not only with money. It can also involve items like card packs or similar rewards. Story 4. Megachurches. I am not saying all religion, but some tend to be much more focused on bringing in money and increasing the size of the congregation as opposed to actually providing faith and spiritual guidance. Story 5. Consulting. I think the industry itself is fine in theory, but there are a lot of scam artists whose goal is to maximize their commission over everything else. Story 6. Consulting. I had a couple of friends from college enter the consulting field after graduation. You just graduated and have no experience in the actual field. Who are you consulting? Story 7. Used car salesman dealerships are the last remaining industry where you can lie through your teeth to customers. As soon as it is driven off the lot, you are free as a bird with no potential recourse or refunds other than a bad review. Story 8. Chiropractors are essentially deep tissue massages presented as medical treatment. It is better to consult a professional masseuse for similar and safer results. Story 9. The ticketing industry, especially concert and event ticket sales, faces issues such as hidden fees, absurd resale markups, and automated programs quickly purchasing seats. I tried getting Taylor Swift tickets and ended up paying 3 times the original price through resale. I felt totally scammed. Fixing this problem is long overdue. Story 10. Advertising involves billions of dollars with very little tangible results. Sure, sales are affected, but running a television advertisement for a week can cost anywhere from $20,000 to $2 million depending on the channel, demand, and time slot. That cost only covers the time slot and does not include production and administrative expenses. Story 11. I scrolled far down and did not see bottled water. This is one of the worst scourges on the planet, along with most things Nestle. Story 12. Insurance rarely pays out when you need it. I was just told by my son's doctor that a medication would cost $700. Car insurance, if you saved what you pay, you could afford to fix your car yourself. Most of the time, they total it anyway, or they vastly undervalue the damage, and no mechanic will fix it for that price. Story 13. This question is asked on Reddit all the time, and I never see people say this one. Duct cleaning. Duct cleaners will tell you how much the National Air Duct Cleaners Association recommends it. Well, of course, the National Air Duct Cleaners Association recommends it. I bet the National Association of Dogfighters also recommends having dog fights. The Environmental Protection Agency does not really recommend cleaning your ducts unless there is mold or pests. Except dryer ducts. Keep your dryer ducts clean. But if your dryer duct was designed and installed correctly and you bought the correct dryer, this should not really be an issue. For those who notice you have dust on your duct walls, it's no big deal. Dust on the walls is not floating around in the air. Why mess with it? Story 14. Religion. The Catholic Church has assets worth almost $3 trillion, selling a make-believe story, and people pay to hear it. The greatest scam in history. Story 15. Health insurance. Get out with this issue where it is tied to employment, charges you a lot, and even when you have insurance, it does not cover your costs. Story 16. The beauty industry. It is not like women had a hard time getting noticed at any point in history, but the beauty industry convinces them all that they need it to look great and feel great. Additionally, the fact that everyone uses cosmetics creates an even playing field. Story 17. Timeshares are a total scam. They lock you into overpriced vacations, have hidden fees, and are nearly impossible to resell. My cousin paid $15,000 for one, now pays yearly fees, and cannot get rid of it. Feels like a trap. This is especially bad with travel costs rising today. Story 18. Churches. You are lied to, manipulated, and led to believe they can fix problems they have no experience with. You are expected to persuade your whole family to attend. Story 19. Insurance companies. I have never understood how it is a legal requirement to have car insurance. Yet there are no legal regulations addressing insurance companies' shady practices. It needs to be one or the other. Story 20, 3/4 of the supplement industry, and all of the industry that claims natural testosterone boosters or weight loss supplements. I have been in the fitness world for 18 years. All you need is protein if it is difficult for you to eat what you need in a day, vitamin packs, creatine monohydrate if you do not consume red meat regularly, and branched-chain amino acids if you do not consume enough meat. Anything else is an exceptional need, such as deficiencies or diets not providing enough nutrients. This is determined on a case-by-case basis, with the majority of people not needing them. Too many people take supplements they do not need but believe they do because of the industry. Story 21. 2 industries I worked in: insurance and consulting. Both are overpriced and under-deliver. At best, you might feel, well, it's better than nothing, I guess. Both are filled with unhelpful people who seem popular only because they network extensively, allowing them to maintain their positions. Both will often misappropriate your money, and it takes effort to recover it. I always suggest auditing your payments for health insurance and consulting services because they tend to be creative with billing. Story 22. The funeral business. Sure, they are there to help you put your loved ones to rest, but the entire process is unnecessarily expensive. You cannot even request to be discarded without spending thousands of dollars. Additionally, they exploit the grieving by promoting more expensive and lavish options to the living in the name of dignity and respect for the deceased. Story 23. Make America Great Again has definitely morphed into a full-blown grift. Once a week, I drive through the desert north of Phoenix, and I would always see a man out there selling Donald Trump merchandise. One day, I had some time to kill, so I stopped to chat with him. He is a really nice guy, and when I asked what he likes about Donald Trump, he said, honestly, not a damn thing. He is a pedophile, rapist, con man. So, of course, I followed up by asking him, why are you out here selling his merchandise? He said, because it is the easiest grift on earth. These people are dumber than rocks, and they deserve to be separated from their money. The fake patriotism nonsense has turned into a literal standalone economy. Buy a gold Donald Trump coin and get a free bald eagle flag. Woohoo! Story 24. Large corporate lawn care companies apply fertilizer and weed control. The results depend on the person responsible for the mixture ratio at the shop and the application process. Lack of training and motivation among new employees often leads to many dead or untreated lawns. Story 25. Chiropractic. Don't believe me? Go get a chiropractic treatment and get everything put back together. Walk across the street and the next chiropractor will tell you you're misaligned. Story 26. Insurance is necessary to protect us, but when we need it, they often fail us. As a result, we may end up losing everything anyway. Story 27. Detox supplements. Are your kidneys and liver healthy and functioning? If you answered yes, then congratulations, your body already detoxifies itself. If you answered no to either, please seek immediate medical attention. Detox supplements will not fix a damaged liver or kidney. Story 28. Non-governmental organizations all make a living feeding off the government, benefiting both political sides. Politicians do their best to support them. There are some good ones that make an impact, but the vast majority do not create meaningful change. If they did, they would run themselves out of a job. Story 29. Anything to do with nitrogen-filled tires. The atmosphere is already 80% nitrogen. Tires are not mounted in a sealed room, so they cannot be filled with 100% nitrogen. Also, most companies do not maintain or repair the equipment, making it ineffective. At the end of the day, nitrogen-filled tires are just 4 green valve stem caps and a few $100s missing from your wallet. Story 30. Chiropractic. Sure, you might feel better in the short term, but 1, there is just as much likelihood that you are doing long-term damage or might have acute damage inflicted on you at an appointment, and 2, read up on the origins of the discipline. Story 31. Most supplements have wildly exaggerated claims with very limited testing for almost everything on the shelf. The only supplement I support is fish oil. Story 32. Insurance. It is a bad idea from the start. No matter how you look at it, Their goal is to take as much money from you as possible while giving you as little in return as possible. They do not do much. Everything is run through algorithms. There is absolutely no reason why the government should not provide this as a service. Story 33. Funeral homes. Do you want to upsell people a better casket or service when they are at their most vulnerable? Get out of here. Put me in the blender and flush me down the toilet to save the money. Story 34. Real estate agents. Never in the history of time has a group of people been paid so much for doing so very little. Story 35. Multivitamin industry. Most people eating a half-decent diet do not need them, but companies promote them heavily with false health claims. I spent $40 a month for years before my doctor told me it was pointless. Focus on real food instead. Story 36. Banking. You deposit $1,000 into your checking account, and the bank overbooks checking accounts to reserves, similar to an airline. They do this because, on average, they know customers will not withdraw all their cash at once. If they do, the bank can receive a bailout from the government. The process of banks creating deposits is known as fractional reserve banking, and it is a key hidden source of inflation. Story 37. Chiropractic began with a founder who was opposed to vaccinations and believed in magnetic and spiritual healing. When he was charged with practicing medicine without a license, he attempted to reclassify chiropractic as a religion to continue his practice. The central concept is based on a medical idea called subluxation, which is incorrectly applied to a part of the body that does not actually experience it. The founder's son took over the chiropractic schools and removed much of the spiritual aspects, turning it into a more legitimate-looking business, but the core principles remain pseudoscientific. It is somewhat regulated today, but there is no reliable evidence of its effectiveness beyond a placebo effect. Treatments can sometimes be dangerous, with even minor mistakes potentially causing permanent disability or death. Regulation mainly prevents blatant fraud, which many practitioners still engage in. The most ethical advice a chiropractor can usually give is to see a medical doctor. Story 38. Self-help books are common sense contained within covers to sell to gullible people. They exist primarily to increase the author's earnings. Story 39. Not insurance. You might think $2,000 a year is a lot, but $2,000 is nothing compared to tens of thousands you would be liable for in property damage or millions for bodily injury. Story 40. Insurance is government-mandated gambling, where one party bets that they will not suffer damages and the other bets that they will. Even if you win, your payments increase. Story 41. Insurance is required for certain things, but I also have to pay for it. When I need it, they do not want to provide the service I pay for, and if I use it, they penalize me. Story 42. What industry is not? Healthcare, legal, real estate agents, churches, our education system, news organizations, the list goes on. Everything has a significant amount of nonsense baked in, was bought for $1 and sold for $5, and does not solve the problem that needs to be solved. Story 43. State universities. Some professional degrees at respected schools are absolutely worth the money and debt. However, going into $100,000 of debt to get a generic marketing or communications degree from an average school is a total scam. Story 44. Expensive fashion, jewelry, anything targeted towards women, colleges, healthcare. Did I just list a quarter of United States industries? Story 45. Car dealerships, specifically the financing industry, have changed significantly. They prefer customers to commit to car payments with interest and the risk of repossession rather than buying the car outright. Of course, few can afford to pay upfront due to rising new car prices. But used car dealers are just as problematic. Story 46. Real estate agents in Australia are essentially salespeople for the two companies that control nearly all property advertising. Story 47. Realtors do very little and tend to overcharge everyone involved in buying and selling a home. Story 48. Recruiting is not specialized enough to add value to a company and often involves performing basic tasks for hiring managers. It is like glorified executive assistant or human resources work with poorer communication skills. Story 49. Tax software. There was a free option from the Internal Revenue Service, but it was removed to force you to pay to file your taxes. Story 50. Medical insurance in the United States. These are people essentially gatekeeping payments that would cover your medicine and treatment. There are more employees in the medical insurance industry than actual nurses and doctors, that is, healthcare providers. That is many mouths to feed, feeding on payments that should have gone to treatments. Republicans were concerned about death panels when it came to the Affordable Care Act. However, they have no issues with panels of insurance professionals determining if your treatment falls under specific categories that would warrant payment for treatment or not, literal death panels. I wish the country could come together and recognize that lobbyists and citizens united are essentially the reasons why much of the negative issues around us are happening. Story 51. Insurance, specifically dental and vision. Also, home warranty. Additionally, someone mentioned the funeral industry. Do not get me started on that one. Silly, archaic humans. Story 52. Headhunters send you an email saying you are a great match and ask you to send them a resume. I guess anyone who responds to the email is considered a great match. Story 53. Real estate agents earn significant amounts of money by showing people houses and handling paperwork. Story 54. Mattress industry. They charge you thousands of dollars for a bed made out of foam they know is going to cave in after a year's worth of use. To top it off, they use pseudoscientific marketing language to convince you there is some orthopedic science behind lying on a cushion. The actual science is that Asian populations who lay on the ground have the healthiest spines in the world. Lying on cushions causes muscle atrophy, which leads to back problems. The whole thing is nonsense, and you are better off buying a Japanese futon or a very firm mattress for back health. Story 55. Building lighting is overpriced, low-quality Chinese equipment that is overdriven and poorly constructed. When it fails within 5 years, the model is often discontinued, making it difficult to find a similar replacement. Additionally, lighting controls are also problematic. Story 56. Automotive ceramic coating. You cannot ceramic coat a car. Part of the definition of something being ceramic is that it was baked in a kiln hot enough to completely destroy a car. Half the time, it costs more than just having the car repainted every few years. Story 57. Insurance involves paying into a system that is supposed to provide support in emergencies but often resists when you try to use it, charging you more for utilizing the coverage. Story 58. Chiropractors do not have medical support and may cause more harm than benefit. Story 59. I wouldn't say the entire industry, but carpet cleaning. I worked in the industry for 2 decades. I've been with companies that lie and scam by shooting water into your carpet and then sucking it out, but only charging you $99 for the whole house. That is a big red flag. If you get a cleaning by a company, certified by the Institute of Inspection, Cleaning and Restoration Certification and a certified technician, the difference is clear, and the cost is significantly different. A real high-quality carpet cleaning by someone who is trained and knows what they are doing should cost a few $100s, even for only 3 or 4 rooms. Story 60. Medicare Advantage Plan Brokers. There is an entire industry that charges you fees to enroll in Medicare supplement plans, which you can sign up for free directly through insurance companies. Story 61. Insurance of nearly all types. Medical insurance is not genuine insurance. These companies and the involvement of the medical field have undermined it. Story 62. Insurance is a contract where you pay to protect yourself from being sued and to cover your property. However, the company often finds ways to deny your claim, and the rates increase every year intentionally. The introductory rate when you first start a policy is heavily discounted. Then, they raise it each year deliberately, and if you have an accident, the situation becomes much worse. Story 63. Air conditioning companies. Scammed by 2, but caught the second one red-handed. A whistleblower told me they actually installed a defective unit on the roof of a 4-unit building. I switched to an independent technician. He uses warranties as they should be. Story 64. ISO certification is important for companies, especially factories. They charge large amounts of money to advise you to 1. Say what you do. 2. Do what you say. 3. Verify. This simple guidance can save your company a significant amount of money. Story 65. The tax-related accounting industry is not as prominent as weddings and megachurches. The accounting lobbies have intentionally made it harder and more confusing for regular people to file taxes, which could be done directly with the Internal Revenue Service. They have convinced everyone that their services are essential during tax season, when the process could be much simpler. Accountants could instead spend their time providing useful advice and analysis to individuals and business owners. Story 66. IT and software. Can your software do this, and this? Yes, it can. Great, we'll go ahead, please. Software gets installed and paid for. Now, show me how I do this, and this, as we asked. Oh, you actually wanted to do those things? Great. We'll just need to add this module, this widget, build this piece here, and write some new software here. Here's your new quote. Or, hey, it's broken. Oh, okay. We fixed it now. Here's your bill. Hey, your fix didn't work. Oh, our mistake. Here, we fixed it. Here's another bill. Story 67. Not trying to sound like an annoying, edgy person, but in the United States, it would almost be easier to say what industry is not a total scam. Story 68. Religion. Real estate agents. Rent-a-center and same-day loan places. Chiropractors. The American dream. College, including many aspects. Assisted living facilities. Story 69. Christianity in the West and Europe is similar to Judaism. Both religions originated in Africa and the Middle East. However, for some reason, the authority of these religions does not reflect the people described in the scriptures. Story 70. Counseling. More available treatment should reduce the rise of disease. Breast cancer deaths are decreasing, and dental advancements have resulted in fewer people without teeth. Treatments should solve the problem, not worsen it. Treatments for anxiety and depression have become more sophisticated and readily available. Yet, depression and anxiety rates continue to increase. Story 71. Insurance. You pay thousands a year for automobile, life, medical, and home insurance, hoping they pay you in case of a catastrophe. Story 72. The video games industry. Not independent developers, but the publishers obtaining intellectual property rights is problematic. What is going on with this? Movies, books, you own that content and get to keep what you invest your life into. If you create a game like Disco Elysium, they come in with persuasive words, "We will help you make the sequel better." Then they use fine print to take the intellectual property away through whatever means necessary, similar to Subnautica 2. You can essentially ruin yourself for the games industry, and no one will even know your name if it was for a AAA title. Story 73. This made me really mad when I found out. Professional fundraisers. A lot of charity chief executive officers are earning $500,000 lobbying and undermining other charities. Susan G. Coleman keeps about 80 cents for every dollar donated. I strongly dislike that place. Story 74. Recycled printer cartridges, toner, or ink. They are the information technology equivalent of herbal medicine. At best, they work. At worst, they cause problems. Speaking of information technology scams, here is another one. Domain renewal letters. I assume it is an industry that collects money from people who do not know any better. I have been telling customers for decades to discard these letters. They keep showing them to me and asking if they should pay. I have been in information technology for 35 years, own my own business for over 18 years, and the biggest laugh I get is when we actually receive one of these letters. They are like the real-life equivalent of emails I receive supposedly from the administrator of our domains telling us we have nearly used all our storage. Story 75. The problem is that some people want to print photographs on their printers, so the ink is much more expensive. If you only want to print black and white data, such as a hotel reservation, you still have to use the expensive ink. That is why you can buy a printer for $49, but the cost of ink is where they make their profit. Story 76. I looked carefully, and no one mentioned a birth assistant. He was a ridiculous waste of time and money. Maternity nurses are amazing. A birth assistant serves no purpose. None. Now car insurance, that is a complete scam. Story 77. Aviation to a degree. The prospect of grinding for hours to make it to the major leagues allows numerous places like flight schools, banner towers, and pipeline surveying to hire hour-hungry pilots for very low hourly rates that only pay from engine start to stop. Bad weather day, week, or month. Too bad you are out of luck on your hours and pay. Go drive for a food delivery service if you can't pay bills, especially if you were one of the people who took a loan from the federal student loan provider thinking an airline job would just appear in your life. Many flight schools sold the idea that there is still a pilot shortage to capitalize on the hiring boom that ended years ago. Until you get that coveted 1,000 to 1,500 hours of flight time, you will likely qualify for government assistance and continue to dodge the question of when you will be a real pilot. Story 78. Politics. Politicians are self-serving individuals who are often corrupt. They have convinced the public that they are the best candidates, but their true skill lies in dividing the country and spending other people's money. Story 79. Insurance of all kinds. Allow me to explain. Oh drats, I got into a motor vehicle accident. Let me just take it to a repair shop. Yes, that will cost you thousands. But do not worry, insurance will pay for it. I need to go to the hospital. How much will this cost? We do not know, but you will pay this amount, then be responsible for more if it is more. Or just die. Story 80. Pharmaceutical companies. Pharmacist. That will be $900. Me. That is way too much. I cannot pay for that. Pharmacist. Here. Let me put it on a discount card for you. That drops the price down to $30. Me. You. What? Story 81. All of them. Just admit, as a human being, nothing matters except getting what you need to survive. Most prefer to do it while stepping on the heads of other people. Just admit why we are all here. To survive, not to care about anyone else. Money. Story 82. Anti-aging creams, Botox treatments, these are all extremely expensive and completely ineffective. There is nothing wrong with aging. Just wear your sunscreen to prevent skin cancer. Let us age in peace. Story 83. Insurance. Most of the time, you do not need it, and when you do, they will find reasons why it does not cover your problem. Story 84. Title insurance companies require thousands of dollars of insurance when you buy a home, yet many have not paid a claim in decades. Story 85. Insurance companies, because why should I be paying so much money per month for something that may not even fully cover me? Story 86. Dentistry. I feel like every dentist I have been to in the last 25 years has told me I need my wisdom teeth removed when there is nothing wrong with them. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.